Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Girls Got Golds. We are on our second episode today. Me and Marci are excited about this. How are you, Marci?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I've
Somebody
had this
had a
cold.
birthday.
I did.
You did.
I did. I am 1 year older.
And how many years is that?
51.
You look freaking amazing for 51. I hope I look like you at 51. Me and Brenna were both saying that the other day. We were talking in the office, and she's like, I'm trying to be like Kimberly when I grow up. I hope I look that good when I'm that age.
Gonna make me blush.
I know you got 20-year-olds aspiring to be you one day.
Well, Carrie kept on and on about 51 and just emphasizing the one. I was like, shut up. I'm like, but where did 50 go? I mean, really, this past year has just flown by.
Yeah. It's just going faster and faster. I don't know. Ever since quarantine, to me, life is just like supersonic speed, sped up. It's crazy.
I tell people all the time, though, when we're kids, it just goes by so slow. And I was like, that's how I know I'm getting old, because I feel like it goes by faster the older you get. It's
faster and faster.
I'm not ready for Christmas yet.
Oh, we're going to blink and it's going to be here.
Yeah. And now all I think about is money, having to buy presents.
Budgeting.
When you're a kid, you're just like excited to get presents. And then I feel like even at 40 and 45, I wasn't as overwhelmed, but now the family's growing and everybody's getting spouses and the more the grandkids, and I just start panicking. When you start getting 8 grandkids, you're like, oh my heavens. I mean, even if you just spend a couple $100 per grandkid, and $100 on one grandkid's not much, but that's $800. Then you got their spouses, and you want to get your spouse. I mean, we've gotten to where we don't even hardly buy each other. Well, even when the kids were little, sometimes it depends on if we were having a good year. Rather, we would be like, okay, this year we're not buying nothing. Okay, this year we can buy something.
Yeah. We would always make sure the kids had whatever, because we set a budget, so many dollars per kid, so many dollars per grandkid, and we would stick to that. We would make sure the kids had anything. And if there was any left over, then the parents got something. But I mean, realistically, if I want something, I go get it throughout the year anyway. So it's like Christmas and birthdays just really don't hold that same magic anymore, because it's not like you're waiting for something exciting. It's like, I'm a grown ass woman. I'll go buy what I want when I want it. I don't have a lot of patience for waiting either. So there's
a lot of times afterwards, we would be like, okay, so once we get everything taken care of, after Christmas, we'll go shopping together if you want to, or, something like that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just like going and getting clothes. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I've just gotten to where I want some new clothes, but when I go shopping, it's like, what is the trend now? I don't like nothing. And then I get frustrated. And I need some new, like, high heel shoes. Every time I go to dress up now, I feel like my shoes are just disintegrating in my closet. I literally had a pair fall apart on me at work the other day. I'm like, what the crap? Good thing I had another pair with me. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Literally, the shoe fell apart at work. The whole sole of it was flapping.
Oh my gosh. How long had you had that pair of shoes?
Girl, I keep my shoes. And the bad thing about it is most of my high heels, I will splurge. Not all, but most are a name brand. Like I have a pair I wore the other day, and they're Gianni. Love my Gianni shoes. And they're starting to like, the leather part on where your foot is coming off. And I love these shoes, but there ain't no telling how long I've had them, because I'll just keep shoes forever. I mean, why not? Like certain high heels in a way don't go out of style. I mean, they're just
classics. Yeah. And your foot don't really change that much typically.
Yeah. So anyway,
although I do lose weight in my feet. I gain weight in my feet and lose weight in my feet. So it depends on how many pounds heavier or smaller I am. There's, what kind of shoe. I'm kind of like in between a 7.5 and an 8. So it's weird.
See, I don't. I mean, I'm pretty much a straight up 6, unless the shoe is made small. There is a pair of tennis shoes that I have, and they are made small. I have like 2 pair. My mind is blank of who they are, but I have to get 6.5s in them because they are.
Yeah,
That
Nikes
brand
to
is
me
made
are
small.
Nikes to me are made small, so I have to size up like a half a size. But I
Yeah.
lose weight in my ears. Like even when I lose weight, my earbuds will fall out easier. I mean, it's crazy. Like my ear canals get bigger because I'm losing weight. My rings, you know how your rings will get, kind of falling off. My shoes. I mean, I just like shrink a little bit from everywhere.
I have never.
Really? That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I have the feet, but not the ears.
Yeah. Maybe nobody's noticing. That's just my, super hypersensitivity and noticing of random life situations. So what you got for us today, Kimberly?
Okay. So today in our second series is building a strength training plan. So I think that a lot of times we might not know where to start. And last week we talked about, to exercise like a girl and why we need to. And so this week we thought some people don't know how to build a plan. I mean, I didn't know anything about that when I first started. And some people could be seasoned and already, but this will be like, add some things in there if you've got any questions. But I think for most women, a lot of it is the fear of the gym. And we're not going to get into that a whole lot, but we do have in our second episode, the gym intimidation. I really think that was like a really good episode that we did there. I enjoyed that episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, go do that. We talked about how to navigate the gym and maybe, some fears that women have. And I think sometimes we just don't know where to begin. I mean, I started at home, as we discussed last time. I started with like videos.
Yeah.
And watching the videos. So it really wasn't like I was having to, I wasn't actually, when I first started, did I really know about strength training, what to do to build muscle? I was just doing videos. And
I started similar.
Yeah.
With the T25 insanity.
I seen change, but not like how once I started the gym,
Right.
So there's
a progression.
Yeah. And once I really got into it and started seeing the change, that's when I really got excited and motivated to do other things. And so that's why sometimes I say, just get started. And when you start seeing your body change, I think that's when everybody gets, to me, motivated. Super excited. Yeah.
So when you started with videos, just real quick, we're talking years ago. There wasn't like YouTube. I think right now there's over information. And the problem I have is you have every fitness influencer out there or expert out there telling you 100 million different things to do, 100 million different ways with 100 million different exercises. So I get overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there. It's not like back when we started, you picked
Are you looking at
exercise.
My notes?
No. Great minds think alike, It's like, I picked insanity. It was trending. Beachbody was trending back then. And I remember
that's what I did was Beachbody.
Yeah. I remember sweating with the oldies, Richard Simmons, with my mom in our living room growing up, and then insanity was kind of like the new Richard Simmons, and so we didn't have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all these influencers in our face. So we just picked something and started with it, which I think is a little more simple. And I think that's where you're getting at, is just begin, and with action becomes clarity. You kind of weed through what works for you and what don't. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that, we started in a more simple time.
Yeah. That was actually my third one, was feeling overwhelmed by social media. So yeah, I mean, I even get that way sometimes. And that was one thing. I'm going to plug our, videos again, because that's one thing me and Marci talked about, is sometimes I will see different things, and we follow some of the same people, and they'll do exercises, which right now me and Marci's on the, booty building. And, a lot of the women are, and you'll see all of these different exercises, and you will save them or say, oh, I want to try that, but I don't want to look stupid in the gym, or, oh, I don't really know. So we were thinking we were going to, try some of these exercises and then maybe break some of them down and let you know how to load or what we think about it.
Yeah. What equipment to use.
Yeah. And some of the things that I might feel you might not. We've discussed that. I'm short. Yep. You're taller. Your body structure is different. So, and there might be some that we both like that were like, hey, yeah, definitely do this one. I did one in the gym the other day. We won't go into that one because I think we might use it. It's not nothing totally different. I had just never actually did it that way. And I can feel it.
I'm excited.
It will be back in, this one will be in my plan. I really feel it. Now, I will say I did it 2 different ways. I did it the way that the lady had it on her Instagram. And you really feel like the bottom part, like more of the tie-in, but I could tweak the way that I was doing it, and I felt more of my center glute.
Yeah.
So, just different things like that.
Variations. Yeah.
That the way that you hinge and come up, sometimes the way that you push back up is actually going to work more of the bottom versus the middle. And, I feel like I have come like an expert at mind connection coordination of doing that in my own body.
Yeah.
So I just have to learn better of how to say that out loud to people.
Right.
Because I can know.
Right. But to communicate, it's something different. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to another listener that sent in an email. It's Laura. I hope I'm saying her last name right. Gicker. And she sent in a very awesome email saying that she had listened to Exercise Like a Girl, and she's excited about seeing our videos because she's excited about seeing women like her. She said there's a lot of influencers out there who are younger and you don't really relate to them. So she's excited that we're like middle-aged and we're into this. And she mentioned a lot of topics that she wants to see covered in the series, which we're going to cover. And the videos, I'm trying to get to the email so I don't misquote her, but she was talking about wanting to learn like correct form and how to set up correct form. And then where are they at? Here it is. Okay. I would like to see common mistakes and corrections. I cannot afford a personal trainer. Sometimes I wonder if my technique is incorrect and how I could tweak to make the exercise more effective. So when you were telling me about the tweaks that you made in your body, and like you said, you're short, I'm tall, I think we're going to cover the broad spectrum of people, in both of our body types, that we're going to be able to go through these exercises. And in the videos, we're going to start this Friday, which is September 5th, right? 5th. We're going to start recording September 5th. So you guys, in the near future, we're going to edit them and get them up on our YouTube channel, and we'll let you guys know, when they're up. But we're going to go through the basic functional foundational movements. So today we're talking about building a plan, and we're going to go over some of the general information about terms, how to build a plan, and all of that. But y'all stay tuned for the videos where we're going to actually give you like a visualization of some of the things we're going to talk about today. So, yeah, because today there is a lot. And so the first thing I'm going to go over is like common terms. And like I say, I'm just going to kind of briefly read these because it is a lot of information. Yeah. This is like a glossary definition list, guys. So sorry if it's a little boring, but there's a little bit of housekeeping at first. We want to make sure when we say a term that you understand the term and that everybody's on the same page, because this is going to be very important for you learning how to build your plan in the future. So just bear with us. Yes. So the first one is going to be set. So this is going to refer to a group of repetitions performed consecutively without rest. So then you've got your reps, or repetitions, is one complete movement of an exercise. So for example, my set
could consist of 10 reps. So if I'm doing squats, I'm going to do 10 reps, and that's one set.
Yep.
So that's that. And then you've got your rep range. So that's the suggested number of reps in a set, which is example that I gave would be 10. Failure. So when we say we're going to push to failure, that's the point where you cannot complete another rep without it being good or safe form. Then you've got your warm-up sets and your working set. So when I get to the gym and say I'm going to do squats, I'm going to do a lighter practice set, and that's going to be my warm-up set. That does not count when I say I'm doing 10 reps. I don't count the warm-up set. It's only my working set that I'm going to count at once I get started.
Yeah.
We just got to warm up to get that going.
Right. Say, for example, you want to do 3 working sets. That's your main bulk of work. And if you do one set of 10 with lighter weight before then, you're technically doing 4 sets, but you're only doing 1 warm-up set and 3 working sets. So when we say warm-up set versus working set, you'll understand now what we're talking about.
Correct. Then progressive overload is when you're gradually increasing the intensity over time by increasing the weight or the reps or the sets.
Yeah.
Then you got your training or workout split, which we're going to go into in a minute too. And that's a way to organize your workout across the week by dividing your muscle groups and the movement patterns into different days.
Yes. So before you start a plan, first things first, you need to understand your goal. So muscle gaining and fat loss are 2 separate goals. They have different training and nutrition requirements or demands on your body. So first, you need to determine which goal is right for you right now. You can always change it later. And some people cycle between the two. You know, you might cycle with a little more calories during your muscle gain for 8 to 10, 12 weeks, whatever. And then you may do like a little mini cut and cycle with more maintenance calories or a slight deficit. So determining which goal is right for you is the most important first step. Because if you try to chase both goals at the same time, it is possible. And that's called recomposition, where you're trying to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. And it is possible, like we said last week, especially for beginners, when you have those newbie gains, when you're just starting to train and your body's not adapted to the exercise. But that process will slow down and it will be much slower progress. So if you're somebody who needs to lose a lot of body fat, and you don't stay motivated with longer term goals, you may want to start leaning out before you start trying to really stay in a maintenance or a surplus for building. And we'll get into all of that. But the only thing you need to know right now in this moment is choose a goal. Do you want to be leaner? Do you want to build muscle? Or do you want to do both at the same time?
Okay, and then next is choosing your frequency and your volume. So you want to choose according to what your goal is and according to what you can, to begin with, fit into your schedule. And it can always change. So, you know, if you can only do 2 days, start with 2 days, like Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, something's better than nothing, 100%.
Yeah, I would say personally, 3 to 4 days would be best. But if you can't, start with 2. Like she said, something's better than nothing. But you could do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever fits in your schedule.
Yeah, something manageable to just get that habit started.
And and you can keep it short. I mean, if you do it, you know, back to back to back, you have your layout, you can do 30 minutes. I would think an hour is more optimal personally, but you can start with 30 minutes. Once you get your days done, then you want to start with the muscle groups. So if you're going to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you want to separate those muscle groups up and have an upper body day, lower body day. You could even throw in a full body day. I know some people like I'm not working a whole lot of upper body right now. So I'm trying to do the Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. I haven't done that in years. Normally I was a 6-day a week. So I was trying to cut back a little bit, doing glutes 2 days a week versus the 3 to kind of give me a little break. And then I decided I'm going to do some more banded stuff and some stretching and just kind of throw that in on the 3rd day. So on my upper body, I kind of been throwing in a little bit of lower. So it's kind of more of a technically full body day. But you decide what's best for you and what works. Some do the push pull. So that would be more like back and buys, shoulders and abs, quads and hamstrings. For me, if I'm doing glute days, I try to separate that. I do hamstrings and glutes one day, quads and glutes one day. I work all areas of my glute. So everybody's goal is going to be different. Because I'm not really sculpting and trying to build other parts yet. So everybody's build out is going to be different in that aspect. As far as the reps go, everybody's going to be different. Marci might differ with me in this. I'm not sure where she's at. I know that she said last week, it's in the notes for this week, that women can hold higher rep ranges. But for me, if you can do 15 of something, that's most of the time too much. You need to up your weight. If you can do 15 reps, my rep range is usually 12. And if I can do 12, then here lately, because I'm in a building phase, I'm going to add the weight, which is the progressive overload that we discussed earlier. I'm going to add the weight until I can only do about 8 to 10. Trying to put and that's a term we haven't talked about, but just the time under tension. If you're doing low weights and you can do 15, you're not normally challenging yourself.
Yeah, you need to add weight. I know my first set will typically be kind of like my starting weight. And I'll try to do 15 just to pump some quick blood into that muscle, because I've learned with myself, my second set's usually my best because I've already made that mind muscle connection. I've already pumped blood into that area. I've already kind of set myself up and primed the pump, so to speak. And so my second set, I can definitely push harder. And so I would do, like you said, it's an inverse reaction. As the weight goes up, your number of reps are coming down. If you can do 12 to 15, you need to add weight, and you need every set to add more weight until you get to that failure at about 7 or 8. That's like a perfect example of that. And where was I going with that? I had a point. But yeah, I think that's all I was going to say is I kind of start with the little, I know what I was going to say. And every week I have a tracking app. So every week, that starting weight, I'm bumping it up just a little bit. It may be 2.5 pounds, that I'm bumping it up, but I'm still trying to hit that 15. And then I'm bumping that up. I never go down in weight, but my reps may go down. That's where I was going with that.
Well, kind of the same headspace mine was, is to, keep up with it. So just say I'm squatting, and this week I did 100. Say I got to 100, and I was doing 8 reps of 100, 8 to 10. And I had been doing 90. The following week, you want to start with the 100.
Right.
Don't go back to the 90. Because if you've already done 100, there's no sense in going back to that 90. And this is just me. You might do different, but there's no sense in me doing 90 and wasting 10 reps.
Yeah, because you only have so much ATP. You only have so much energy and so much glucose. And once you've expended that on that muscle recruitment, you're not going to get that back, basically. Not that you've wasted it, but you do kind of waste a set, because you're not going to get that energy back. You're going to slowly deplete your energy as the workout goes on. So it's important for that first, 1 to 2 sets, you're going to try to push harder than you did last week, which is the term that we use, progressive overload. That's the name of the game. I don't care if you have to start lower to build your confidence. I know I'll do that in some exercises that maybe I've never done before, or some things that I feel a little intimidated by. I will begin. You may not know where your weights are if you're just starting a plan. You may just have to start somewhere and do it, and then see how it feels. But once you have done it, like you said, don't go back to that. We're climbing a mountain, one step at a time, one rung on the ladder. We're constantly going up towards our goal. You can think about it like a ladder. If you go a rung down, you're getting farther away from your goal than you are closer.
Mm-hmm. Well, for example, the new exercise that I was telling you that I did Friday, I had never did that before. Not in that aspect of that, not this way.
Right. So it was unfamiliar.
So it was unfamiliar. Didn't know how much I was going to be able to do. Didn't want to put too much weight on there. I mean, I'm on the Smith machine, so it's not like I couldn't have racked it back, but I'm no different than anybody else. I don't want to first of all, I don't want to injure myself. Secondly, I don't want to put too much on there and be doing a hinge movement and be like, oh my God, because I already have back problems and I don't want to look like a fool.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the number one for me. Like, I don't want somebody to see me like fall or fail or weights fall on me and snatch me down. We've all seen the videos.
Yeah.
I love watching them, but I don't want to be the subject matter.
No, I'm no different than nobody else. Even though I've been doing this for a while, I don't want to look like an idiot. I'm insecure with certain things too, Yeah. And, there was a girl working out next to me, and I'm thinking that's all I need to look like a goober over here. So, I literally started with 10s on each side just to kind of feel the movement, feel the muscle, get the mind connection coordination of what I was doing. And then I was like, okay, that's not enough. So I added 10 more to each side. So then that's 20 on each side. Mm-hmm. I did a set of that. I felt comfortable with that. So I ended up taking those off and putting 25s on. So that kind of goes back to what I'm saying is working sets, because this one was a new one and I didn't know where I was going to be. I personally, but I'm more seasoned, I did not count those sets until I got to the 25s. The 25s where I felt comfortable. And then I usually do 4 sets. So that's where I started.
Once you felt challenged, that was working set number 1. That was a perfect example of warm-up sets versus working sets. Like, if you're not feeling challenged, that don't count.
Right. And then I did 4 working sets with the 25s on there.
So you probably had 7 sets altogether, but only 4 were working sets because it was a new exercise. But now that you know your weight, next week you'll only have your 4 sets because you'll know where to start.
Yes. And I will throw this. Now, this is one thing that our listener emailed in because she was talking about doing certain movements, and we can get into that later. It just made me think about it. And your back curtain, because I have problems with my back. I do have, now they technically haven't told me I have a, disc that is compacted, but I know that I do. I go to the chiropractor every other week. My back has been kind of bothering me since I did that, but I don't stop doing it because I would just stop working out. I have to push through it. I just bought the inversion table, but sometimes I will have that sciatic nerve bother me down my right leg. So I just do stretches to eliminate some of that. So sometimes, though, I will not be able to go with certain moves heavy because of it. And because this is more of a bend over, like hinging at the hip.
Yeah.
I don't know how heavy I will be able to go. So in certain things like that, and some of that probably is my age. Some of that probably is because I do have an issue with my back. So with that, I'm limited. So in those situations is the only time I might do more of thinking time under tension and more reps.
Yeah.
So there will be a limit to where I get to the point in this, and plus it's your back. You're not going to be underneath there doing 200-pound.
Right.
Like, this is almost kind of like a one-legged, because you put one of your legs up on the bench, like a one-legged.
Well, we kind of call like an isolation move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we're trying to isolate a certain body part, where we're not doing big compound movements like deadlifts and squats and things like that. We can load more weight. And what you're talking about doing is more of an isolation.
Correct.
Which is typically lighter weight than what you do a compound movement, because you're not recruiting a lot of different muscles.
Yeah.
You're targeting one, which is not going to be able to carry as much load.
Correct.
Just to explain it to everybody.
As an example of something that you can tweak, one, if you have an injury, and two, just knowing if you are isolating. And and we can get into that more of the mind muscle that we're talking about. That's really connecting with that muscle. And that takes time too. I wasn't able to do that at first. And now I can take a 10-pound weight and I can make it feel like 50.
Yeah. I tell everybody all the time, the first whole year that I really started like strength training for like bodybuilding, I couldn't feel my glutes. Like, I was working them, but I think there's a certain point to where your glutes not really are atrophied, but they're not developed. They're not recruiting. It could be due to mobility or flexibility, or, you know, just not having the muscle tissue there. It was at least a year, maybe more, of me doing targeted, focused glute building exercises to now, like you said, hell, I can do a body weight exercise and really target that glute and use that mind muscle connection and contract the shit out of it. And my whole butt just feels like a rock hard, you know, contraction. But I didn't start there. And I just had to basically fake it till you make it kind of thing, you know, just believe that what I was doing, you know, because they were glute building exercises and my coach at the time, you know, was telling me to do them, that I was working them. I didn't really feel them all the time. I'm not going to say that I never felt them, but not like I do now. So it is a progression.
Yeah. And don't think you are doing something. You are,
whether you feel it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess I'm going with that as, you know, neither one of us started there. So you don't feel bad. It's not something that most people go in the gym and just, oh, I know how to do this, or I have if you've never did that before, it does take time.
It does.
I mean, I'd probably say I've been doing this 8 years now, and it's probably only been in the past 2 years that I really have mastered that. Before, I'm just going through the motion of doing the exercise, and I can, we can do that in the video too, because just for example, if you're doing RDLs.
Yep. I was just thinking the same thing.
If I'm just going down and doing an RDL, and sometimes I will admit, I'm human. I get in my own brain, like I'm just doing it.
Yeah, and I'm just repping it out. I'm vibing to the music. I'm thinking about my grocery list. You know, it's just, I'm just in there just going through the motions. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not saying that I didn't work that muscle, but if I slow it down, and when you go down and I come up, instead of just like pulling up, I just
use it,
tense that.
Yep.
Yes, I tense up my ass and those hamstrings and that lower glute, and I pull with that. Yep. That is the only thing pulling. I'm not using my arms. My arms are just dead. And you're just holding that weight. When I get done, I'm like, holy F.
Right. That's when it's not necessarily the weight that you're pulling. It's the connection you're making. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is huge on mind muscle connection. He like would talk to his muscles and like tell them to grow while he was like doing the reps and things. And then I've heard girls on podcasts talk about they don't even listen to music while they're training because they're so focused on like connecting with. That would be boring as shit for me. Like I could not get down like that. But it's like working out and training your muscles are almost two different things. I can go in there and mindlessly just do the reps, or I can have a focused plan and train my muscles to look how I want them to look and feel how I want them to feel. And that's really where I think people who are beginning a strength training program and listening to us can really benefit from what we didn't know Like if I could go back and I hear this all the time, if you could go back and tell your 25-year-old self, what you know today, like in the realm of a strength training plan is to connect with your muscle, with your mind, and really slow it down. Don't worry about the weight. Don't worry if anybody's looking at you or not. I close my eyes. I literally close my eyes and envision that muscle and like try to really work that muscle and only that muscle. And I think, according to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was the best in the world for many years, that is how he grew, was connecting.
Yeah. I close my eyes a lot too. Sometimes it's because I'm in pain. But a lot of times it's because I'm focusing, or even if I'm not, like I probably don't with the RDLs, but I fixate on something so that my form is correct. Yeah. So a lot of times, like Marci said, she told a girl to talk to me in the gym that I'm not stuck up, but it's because I'm not really looking around. You could almost be in front of me, but I'm not looking at you. Yeah, I'm not focused on that.
I'm not even doing blinking. My workout. Yeah, it's like a death stare. She has resting bitch face, y'all. But she's a sweetheart. She ain't really a bitch, but she does have resting bitch face, especially when she's concentrating.
Well, when I'm concentrating, and then when I'm in between sets, a lot of times I'm looking, they have the TVs in there with the time on it, and I'm timing in between. And I don't think we put that on here, but that's something we can discuss later.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming later in the outline. Yeah, it's coming later in the outline.
So I'm timing myself, and so there might be somebody standing there. And they might be trying to get my attention, but I might not see them because I'm wanting to keep my heart rate up. I'm wanting to keep, the muscle pumped up. So I'm watching the clock and timing myself so that I can, be on schedule. So anyway, yeah, I'm not meaning to not speak to somebody. I'm focused.
She's not really a bitch, y'all. Go talk to her. That's right. Okay, so we talked about
just not when goal. I'm in a set.
Yeah, don't interrupt me mid-set, babe. So we talked about first things first, setting your goal. We talked about choosing your frequency of like how many training sessions you want per week and the volume, like how many sets you need and reps and everything. Now we're going to talk about choosing your workout split. So there are 4 schools of thought when it comes to choosing your workout split and choosing lifts that fit your current mobility, schedule, and equipment access. So you may have, like you said, limitations. You may have an injury. You may be a busy single mom who has to work around the schedule of children and working and activities. You may have limited equipment access. You may not have a gym around you. You may have to work from home, or you may have, full access. So you need to take all that into consideration. And we can't go over that today because it's just too much information, but there are different scenarios that can get you towards your goal in each of those scenarios. But right now, we're going to talk about choosing your workout split. So we want to avoid random circuits. We want to set a plan and stick to it so you can track your progressive lifts. Remember, name of the game is progressive overload. Your body adapts to whatever load you put it under. So you're going to need to progressively overload to get that adaptation. That's what grows our muscles, is your muscles laying down new tissue. Because when you get it close to failure, it's like, oh shit, we reached a challenge that we couldn't rise to. And that it's like your muscle's afraid it's not going to be able to do that work again. And it prepares in the future for being able to do that work. So it's going to repair those tears. It's going to lay down new muscle tissue. And it's like, bitch, I got you now. You put that load on me next time. I'm going to do it. Because, we don't like to be failures, and neither do our muscles. So the 4 schools of thought or common workout splits are full body, upper lower, push-pull legs, and the bro split are a body part. So the first one we're going to talk about is full body. So if you are limited on time, this is a great option for you because you can do it 2 to 3 days a week and you're basically hitting all the major muscle groups in one workout. So it's really good for beginners or those with busy schedules. And the one caution I have on this is you need to put at least one day, maybe more, of rest in between each training session, because you don't want to go in back to back to back days and train every muscle group, because your gains are made when you're resting. Like I said, when you're tearing down that muscle in your training session, it's creating little micro tears. Your proteins are going to come in and build back those tears with new muscle tissue. That's how you grow muscle. So if you're not resting, you're not going to be able to repair those tears as well, and you're not going to get as good of gains. So if you're going to do full body, space it out. Number 2 is the upper lower split. You could do this 2 to 4 days a week. So you could have one upper, one lower. Again, it's good for, busy people. Or you could have like 4 days a week. You could have 2 uppers, 2 lowers. If that was the case, I would do upper, lower, so that you're putting that space again in between each training session. You're separate upper body and lower body. So it's best for building muscle while still having recovery time. Third option is push, pull legs. This can be 3 to 6 days per week. So if you have 3 days to train, your first day will be a push day, then legs, and then a pull day, or vice versa. You can space them out however you want to do, but you have separate days for each muscle group. So, and you can Google what the push pull legs are. Obviously, legs are anything lower body. Push is going to recruit most of like your chest and shoulders and triceps. And then pull is going to be more of your back and your biceps. So that is any kind of pulling motion is going to recruit like your back and biceps. Any kind of pushing motion is going to recruit more shoulders, triceps, and chest. And then obviously legs is lower body. So this is best for intermediate lifters who want to balance strength, and also those who are interested in growing muscle in all areas. So I would say that if you want to grow muscle fast, that the push-pull legs to me would be where I would start as kind of a beginner to intermediate lifter. And if you really want to grow the muscle, do 6 days a week. So you do like push legs pull, or push legs pull, or push pull legs, push pull legs. You just rotate it. So then you're getting the rest in between each training session on that muscle group. And then the last, go ahead.
I just want to throw in, so some people just want to build everything. But if you are to the point that you're trying to build a certain muscle group more than the other, you can do that muscle group more. Like we discussed, I'm working on my glutes. So I was doing glutes 3 days a week. I just recently, like I said, went to 2, just trying to back off a little bit so that I could do more volume. 3 days a week with high weights is a lot of stress.
You need a lot of recovery. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's harder. So I try to have a, high volume day on Monday, and Wednesday I'm just kind of going in with bands, body weight, things like that, along with upper body. Friday I'm just kind of doing like normal weight, not the high, because if I feel I can go a little heavier on Friday, depending on my recovery, but there are some, because I'm really pushing myself. Like, I think I got up to 415 on the hack squat last Monday. So when I say I'm pushing, I'm really, really trying to push. And I'm needing that recovery time for my back too, because like we said, with my back problem, and that's putting a lot of pressure on my back. But I know I got to have the weight and the volume to grow my glutes. So I'm really trying to push myself. But I just thought I needed the extra time. But I would say, if you're wanting to grow biceps, or shoulders. Last year I was needing to bring my shoulders up. I was working shoulders 3 days a week. So if that muscle group that you're really wanting to, that's lagging or you're wanting to bring up, I would suggest 3 times a week.
Yeah. which is kind of my split. I have one day of pull, which is back and biceps. I have one day of shoulders and triceps because I don't work chest because I have implants. And I mean, I'm just going to keep my opinion myself. I don't do chest. And then I have 3 leg days. But, you know, my super heavy, big compound lift leg days is on Saturdays because I don't work on Saturdays. I have more energy. My food is, you know, better timed, and I can come home, take a Epsom salt bath and relax, you know, and just because you're going to have a lot of tension in your muscles. You're going to have a lot of inflammation. As we get older, it gets way harder to recover from these unless you have some assistance, you know, and if you space it out, it gives you more volume. You know, volume is, you know, the amount of sets, reps, and weight that you're doing. And you can just multiply that out. Sets times reps times weight equals total workload. So when we both want to grow our glutes. And so I'm working pretty much glutes 3 days a week. So that's going to allow us to space out our recovery. So we're recovering, we have more recovery time, but it's also allowing us to increase volume. So you're exactly right. Any body part that you want to grow, you're going to do more volume. So you can set up your workout split to whatever you want it to be. You know, it's definitely completely programmable and customizable to whatever you want. You know, like a year or so ago, I was working shoulders twice a week, you know, and just, I'm busy now. I don't have as many times to go to the gym during the week. So I've backed off to 1 shoulder day, you know, right or wrong. It just is what it is for me right now. Cause sometimes your schedule gets crazy and it just dictates, you know, how much you can put into this situation.
Well, in the beginning, like you said, you know, I was going like, you know, 5 or 6 days a week, and I was just doing a regular split. So most things were only getting hit once, sometimes twice. I wasn't in there saying, oh, I need to grow this, I need to grow that. Until I really...
When you say a regular split, do you mean the bro split?
I did the bro split.
Okay. So that was my next topic because we haven't talked about that yet. But I know you had an old school trainer and he worked you like a man, you know, and you were doing the regular bro split, which is just one body part at a time. So you'd go in one day and work shoulders, one day and work chest, one day and work back and bis. Usually back and bis, you know, shoulders and tries, or chest and tries, you know, go together.
Yeah.
One day is for legs, you know, and that's the typical, like if you were a male bodybuilder, you see these huge, massive bodybuilder dudes, they're hitting one muscle group so they can completely focus on it. They can completely fatigue it, and then they can completely rest it for a whole week before they go back to it again. And I mean, it is a bro split, you know, for a reason, because it works, you know, and that's the way bodybuilders, I feel like, have done it for a long time. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best or the best for your schedule or the best for your body.
And I'm going to say what you didn't say a while ago. And I'll just say it and we can leave it. Because I had a girl say it to me the other day, like, couldn't believe somebody didn't work chest. And I'm like, well, I don't either. So going back to the very beginning, and even Kerry will sometimes now say something about working chest, because whenever he's going to do chest, I don't. We do work out together occasionally, but we've gotten where we back off because now my focus is different.
It's different. Yep. Jimmy and I are the exact same way. He has chest day and I do glutes.
In the very beginning, I was working everything because I was skinny fat. You know, there wasn't nothing to me, muscle or, you know, so I did need to grow chest because I was more sunk in here. I'm not like that now. You can see, you know, and when I lose weight now, you're not seeing, you know, bones and stuff. So there could be some girls that do need to bring this up. If you are very small and there's nothing to you in the very beginning, you might want to do a little bit of chest. I'm not saying go full into it, but I mean, you can even do push-ups. I mean, just to develop that. Once it's developed, me personally, and I feel that Marci feels the same way, and then especially for us competing, I don't need to work chest. I don't need to grow that aspect of me anymore. But in the very beginning, to feel that in, because I was so small, I did. And there could, there could be people in a different.
Yeah. I worked it before my implants, and I did it for strength. So what I was going to get into that I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because it's off topic. But there is a thing about balance, you know, and if you are imbalanced, that causes postural issues. So if your back muscles are lengthened and your chest muscles are tight, you're going to get those hunched over shoulders. You need to stretch the chest muscles and strengthen the back muscles. So it's highly individual to each person what you need. So I didn't want to throw my opinion out there. Once you get an implant under the muscle, it changes the way you can recruit those muscles. And just because we don't focus on chest specifically, targeting those muscles and working them, doesn't mean we're not recruiting them in other exercises. You know, there's a lot of shoulder exercises where our tricep exercises, even that sometimes you're going to recruit your chest a little bit each time. So it's not like we're just completely neglecting a body part. We've developed the strength in that area to the point to where we don't need to target it and focus on it anymore. And we both have implants. So the way our muscles recruit are different. And it's not necessarily good for us to overdevelop that chest muscle, because then it's going to distort our implants. And there's been like issues with that capsular contraction and things like that if you overdevelop that muscle. So a lot of female bodybuilders who have implants will get them over the muscle so that they can continue developing those chest muscles differently than we don't feel like we need to. We're not telling you not to work your chest. We're just saying, you know, somebody's like, you bought a beautiful chest. Why do you need to work on it? And I was like, exactly. I paid for mine to look like this. I don't need it to look any other way, you know. And we only have so much time. We only have so much energy. We only have so much time to recover. Why would I choose to spend my time and energy on a body part that means absolutely nothing to me to develop? You know, that's the way I look at it now. I kind of feel the same way about my biceps and triceps. It's like I have really nice biceps and triceps. It doesn't take much for me to develop those. Quads are the same way for me. My quads grow with me not trying to make them grow. So these are muscles that I'm not going to specifically focus a lot of time and attention on. And you need to think about that when setting up your workout split. You know, what body part are you trying to develop? How do you want to look? How strong do you want to be in certain body parts? You know, what's your goal? Again, it all comes down to what's your goal, and it's completely customizable to that specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. My triceps grow like crazy. The first time I ever sent in a video to Adam, I laughed because he was like, you know, he starts to critique off as, you know, oh, you know, you look good, you know, nice, blah, blah, blah. But then he was like, I would do this and this. And he was like, I would probably maybe like, oh my God, your triceps, just stop.
Just stop. Just all together. Yeah, I don't think you did a tricep exercise for like years.
I haven't, and I still don't. I do miss it some, you know, but my triceps just grow, and I don't need.
We don't need them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also have been told to don't grow my biceps anymore because and if girls are wanting this, let me throw this out there. If you're wanting, you know, even if you don't compete, but you want the shoulder cap, you like that look because the shoulder caps make you look broader and gives you more of that hourglass. So if I grow my biceps and my triceps, then I got to go bigger with my shoulder caps.
Because it's all an illusion. Yeah, it's all in proportion. So what she's talking about is the bigger your biceps and triceps are, the smaller your shoulders are going to look in comparison. You know, if you grow your shoulders and you kind of keep your triceps and biceps a little smaller, it's not that they're going to look small or be weak or anything. It's just in comparison, you're going to have a nicer shape to your arm. as opposed to, having these huge biceps and triceps. Then your arm's going to look bigger and meatier, which you see a lot of guys do. They focus on biceps and triceps really hard, and they don't focus as much on shoulders. So then they have that like slanted look almost to their physique, to where their traps like slant down into their biceps. It's like, where's your shoulders, bro? Put some boulders on there. But for women, that's where you get that. Okay. The shoulder is like the frame of the entire upper body for a woman. Those nice rounded cap shoulders, in case you didn't know, because I didn't know, it's all an illusion, that you want to focus on your shoulders and you want to build your shoulders, because that's going to set up the nice feminine, rounded, bubbly, muscly, like lean arm look that you're trying to achieve.
Correct. And a little bit of lats is going to make your stomach look smaller.
Yes, your waist. So you look like an upside down Dorito, an upside down triangle. So the bigger your shoulders are, the bigger your lats are, then your waist looks smaller in comparison, Mm-hmm. It's all an illusion, ladies. You can build your body to look any way you want it to look. It just takes time. All right. So we've already talked about your split. Just to recap, you can do a full body split. You can do upper lower split. You can do push pull legs, or you can do body part or bro split.
All right. And then next, just to go over. So we got your exercise selection. This is just some, examples. So your squats, you got your goblet squat, back squat, and these are all going to be to build your quads and glutes and your core. Then, as we were talking about a while ago, a hinge movement, like your deadlifts, your hip thrusts. These are more of the posterior chain development of the hamstrings in your back. Then you're going to have push movements, your bench press, push-ups, chest, triceps, shoulders. And this is kind of going with what Marci was talking about, the push and the pull. And you want to have these in your workout. The pulls are going to be more like your rows, pull-ups, and these are for like your back and your biceps. And then you can have a carry. You can do a farmer's carry. This is for like your core and grip strength. I probably need to, I have poor grip strength. That is one of I do not do well with. So anyway, I see a lot of the guys doing the farmer's carry.
Yeah. I mean, and for women, just FYI, like we were talking about, it's all an illusion. We as bikini competitors try to not build our obliques, which are the abdominal, I say it every time, abdominal muscles of the sides of your body. So if you're doing those twisting crunches or those side bends or that machine that does the sides, twisting, or like the farmer's carries and even like deadlifts and things like that, if you're not wearing a waist trainer or a weight belt to cinch those muscles in and kind of keep those muscles from recruiting, we almost want to atrophy those muscles. Mm-hmm. Because if you go look at a CrossFit athlete, female CrossFit athlete, they are SpongeBob SquarePants to the core. They have that big blocky frame, and you may see their abs, but they're thick. That's because all the movements that they're doing is recruiting their core, and they need those core muscles. If you're in this for athletics and strength and powerlifting, great. You need all those obliques. You need all those core muscles. But if you're trying to develop a body to look a certain way, to be a certain shape like we are for, like bikini competitions, you do not want to work your obliques.
I learned that the hard way, because in the very beginning I was working the crap out of my obliques.
Yes.
And just think about it, like she's saying, because I seen somebody the other day was like, because I see women in there all the time doing that twisting machine.
They think it's a core muscle. And public service announcement, working your abs does not make your stomach smaller. It does not give you a six pack. That is all nutrition. So you can quit working your abs. It ain't gonna work.
Well, body weight is fine. You don't have to load up all of these weights. I mean, you can do some body weight to, get those ab muscles there. But then, like you said, the rest of it's going to be in the kitchen, because think about it like this. What are your obliques? It's a muscle. What are your ab muscles? They're muscles. What happens when we work a muscle? It grows.
Yeah.
So if I'm working my oblique and it grows, then what's that going to make me look? Bigger.
Yep.
It's not going to slim it.
If you have a good, well-rounded training program and you're hitting these compound movements like hip hinges and squats and deadlifts, you're working your core muscles, so I don't even personally work my core specifically targeted by itself, because I'm hitting all these heavy compound movements. And I'm trying not to grow my obliques because I'm already very boxy in that area. So I'm wearing a waist trainer, I'm wearing a weight belt, and I'm not targeting core. Not to say if you want it, like I said, if your goal is to get stronger in that area, then great, go for it. But just FYI, you grow a muscle, you're going to look bigger, you're going to look blockier. The abs are built in the kitchen. I tell everybody, yeah, I got abs, they're under my flabs. You got to get the flabs off before you can see the abs. You are not going to go into the gym and train your core and ever get a six pack. And that's something I didn't know, and I feel like that's something a lot. That's why I'm making such a big point about it. I feel like that's a lot of women. I see a lot of women, they go into the gym, they get on a piece of cardio equipment and they work their abs and they call it a day. That is not the way to do it. We've been fed a bunch of bullshit, from the 80s, 90s, the way women used to work out. But that's because they were trying to achieve a different look, than what we're trying to achieve. They were trying to shrink their bodies and make them smaller. And, the look back then was very rail thin. We're trying to build strong, beautiful muscles. And it's just it takes a different approach.
If you are, I try to wear my belt anytime I'm doing legs. It's hard for me to do certain other exercises just because I get so hot or I can't breathe anything tight on me, because I do have a problem with my, getting out of breath and breathing. But if you're not wearing one, like she said, you are engaging those. So anytime you try to do a squat, split squats, anything like that, make sure you're holding your core tight and not poking it out, because if you have a tendency of blowing out and you're going to build it that way, make sure that you're holding that core in. And that's why a lot of people wear the waist trainer, is just to make sure that you're keeping those engaged. And then so you're working them by keeping them engaged and not working them
in the right way. Yeah. And one
thing we know, I wear mine at work when I'm in prep, because the longer I got something on, the more my muscles are engaged and it's keeping them tight. And so I'm working them and not working them.
Yeah. Subconsciously, you have that mind muscle connection when you have something compression on your midsection. And I'll say, ab vacuums are something I didn't know about until I started competing. If you want to do any kind of core exercises, it's just like Pilates really uses that same philosophy. It's the transverse abdominis, which is the muscle that goes under your abdominal muscles and it goes around kind of like a belt, and it cinches you in and makes you smaller. So Pilates is a really good, core strength for that reason. And ab vacuums, you can look up YouTube videos on how to do them. And I was going to say, if you wanted to target anything, I know you've worked a lot with ab vacuums, even hiring a Brazilian lady, who specializes in it, to go through this full course of really cinching that down, and anything you can do to make your core tighter and smaller. You don't want to do any kind of like twisting, side bend kind of exercises to make those obliques bigger.
I agree.
Well, before we hit the very last, which is tracking progress, I'm just going to recap just real quick. Exercise selection. We said a squat, a hip hinge, a push, a pull, and a carry. So if you just are building a basic exercise program, you can look at, there's hundreds of different variations of these exercises, and these are called foundational movement patterns, which is what we're going to go over in our video series. If you just choose a couple of these, one or two of these, each category, that's going to build you a very solid plan for just overall. And so the last topic is tracking progress. So we want to track progress because the name of the game is what? Progressive overload. So if you don't know what weight you're doing from one week to the next, and I don't have the greatest memory, then you don't know where your progress is. And anything measured is going to have focus to it. And so you have to measure it, whether you use a strength log, monthly photos and measurements, scanning devices, something like that to measure your progress in and out of the gym. So for strength log, this is specifically for making a plan and then sticking to it and then tracking your progress. So it's your weight lifted, your reps completed, how much volume you had. So you can do free or paid for apps. I love the Strength app. Just, Strength. That's just the name of it. It's like a little blue barbell. They have a free version and then they have a paid for version, and you can build your own exercise template, and then it keeps your sets and reps for you. You log your weight and your reps, and it saves it for you week to week. So you can know where to start, where you started last week. And it also times your rest for you. So you can say how many minutes you want to rest, seconds or minutes between each set. And when I log that last set, it starts my timer and it times me. And then it gives me a little ding and bell in my headphones to when I have to start the next set. So if I get to talking to Jimmy and I lose track of time, if I'm not sitting there watching the time, whatever, I'm talking to somebody else, it'll ding and remind me, hey, it's time to start your next set. It's one of the reasons why I love that app. You can go old school analog, get a notebook, go to the Dollar Tree, get you a notebook, write that shit down. I see a lot of people in the gym, pen and paper.
You can even buy notebooks that are specially made for that. I have one. I'm old school.
Yeah. I love the pen to paper. I don't like having to carry it around and keep up with it, but the physical writing it down really helps me connect to it. The app is kind of a happy medium for me. It's like a notebook on my phone that I don't have to carry something around. But that's good to know. Where'd you find yours? Was it like Amazon?
I think that is where I got it. I've had it for a little bit now, and it's like a spiral notebook, and it's pretty cool, because it has where you can write out all the things, and it's got the graph made for you, and you put the weight, and it's got all kinds of neat things, and it has like, you can write stuff in it, how you feel. It's like a whole thing. So that's kind of like what I was using. Now I just remember.
Yeah. And if you don't want to build your own plan, there are lots of plans out there by like different leaders in the industry. Like Dana Lynn Bailey has an app, and Dr. Mike Israetel has an app called the Hypertrophy Strength app or something. But they both have where you can either build your own plan or they have suggested templates for you. And then in the app, they'll track. You can put in your weights or whatever and track. And I'm not sure that the Hypertrophy app has videos, but I know that the Dana Lynn Bailey app has videos of each exercise. So if you're not sure what that exercise is, you click on the little picture beside it. It'll take you directly to one of her YouTube videos that shows you exactly how to do that exercise. That's one of the things I started with because I needed somebody to just think for me, just tell me what to do, and then show me how to do it. And that way, I think it was like $7 a month. That's a great investment for if you don't know where to start. And so whether you want to go with a free app, a paid for app, or strictly analog, old school, you need to track your weights, your reps, your sets, because otherwise you don't know where to go and you don't know how to get there. So number 2, tracking your progress. Like I said, monthly photos or measurements. If you're one of those people, Jessica, who doesn't take photos and who hates photos of themselves and like refuses to step on the scale or anything like that, then you need to take some kind of measurements, because that's going to show you, like we said, recomping before, that's going to show you fat loss or muscle gain. I always know if my biceps are getting bigger, then I'm growing muscle because that's not somewhere I hold fat. You know, if my calves are getting bigger, I'm growing muscle because it's not somewhere I hold fat. If my thighs are getting smaller, your girl's losing some fat. So when you start keeping up with measurements or monthly photos, it really, I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Even if you take the pictures and you don't look at them yourself, save them for when you've made a lot of freaking progress so that you can look back and know where you came from.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, if you are on the journey that you're wanting to put on muscle's going to weigh more. So sometimes if you're just using the scale, it can just really mess with you because you're like, oh, the scale's not moving, but your body's recomping and you're losing fat, but you're gaining muscle. And so the scale might not move a certain way that you think that it should, but your body is changing. And if you're not taking the pictures, or usually I can notice it in my clothes, the way my clothes fit. But it can mess with you a little bit.
It can get really confusing. And I think I mentioned this last week. Like I have 79 STICU scans now, where it started back in 2021 when I weighed like 140 pounds. Well, if you look at my total body, like volume has like increased. My weight has increased about 15 pounds, but I'm wearing the same size clothes. So I've gained, you know, like 10 pounds of muscle, but a pound of muscle is the same weight as a pound of fat technically. But if you look at the volume, you know, a pound of muscle is going to take up like maybe 6 square inches, where a pound of fat is going to take up like 12 or more square inches. You know, it's, you're going to get more dense. You're going to get more compact. You're going to maybe wear the same clothes, maybe get smaller, but your weight could be going up, which is a huge issue for me because I grow muscle easily. I could very easily be growing muscle at the same rate that I'm losing fat. So I have like a net nothing gained or lost on the scale, but my body's changed. So it does, if you don't take photos, if you don't take body measurements, if you're just going by the scale, then it does get very difficult to see or track your progress. Because the scale does not tell the whole story, and it will mess with your mind more than anything, because the scale dictates how good I feel about myself that day. If I get on the scale and I've seen a loss, I'm freaking excited. If I get on the scale and I've seen no loss or a gain and I've been working my ass off, then I'm depressed. But that could be, I had a really hard leg day the day before and I'm holding some inflammation and some fluid because my muscles are repairing. My body is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm gaining muscle, which is what my goal is, you know. So why am I letting the scale mess with my mind like that? You know, it helps me to track in these other ways. And like I said, scanning devices, like I mentioned, the STICU scan, because it takes those measurements for you. It calculates your body fat, your lean mass. You can go to like Southern Nutrition or some of these nutrition stores, and they have like the free in-body scan that you stand on it and hold it with your hands. And it has a bioelectrical impedance device that sends like a electrical impulse through your body. And what the theory behind that is like that electrical impulse is going to go through fat differently than it goes through muscle. So then it's kind of able to read and detect how much lean mass you have and how much fat mass you have. So that gives you a really good starting point of keeping track. Because if our goal, ladies, is to build muscle, what did we say earlier? Building muscle, the muscle's going to get bigger. So we are adding lean mass to our frames. So it makes sense that there may be not a loss on the scale, and that's okay. We have to reframe our perspective, and we have to remember what our goal is. Because like we said, it's going to take a while to get where we're going. It's not like doing a bunch of cardio and taking some Ozempic and you're just going to be dropping a pound a week or whatever. You know, this is not the journey we're on. That's not the journey we want, because it doesn't lead to the outcome that we desire. So then perfect. We'll end on non-scale victories, because sometimes you just have to take your mind off the measurements and you have to focus on other things like energy and sleep quality. as recovery indicators? Do you have less stressed? Do you have improved libido or mood? How are your, like you said, how's your clothes fitting? Like, do you feel stronger? Do you feel confident? Do you feel accomplished because you've set a goal for yourself and you're working hard towards it? Like, I'm getting chill bumps just thinking about all the possibilities of the ways my workouts make me feel freaking amazing, other than the scale that just fucks with my head.
Correct. And I want to throw this in there before I forget. And if I've missed you saying it, I apologize. But when you write out your plan, and we're talking about tracking it, so when I've made my plan, I would stick to that plan for 4 to 6 weeks.
At
Do those
least.
same exercises at least 4 to 6 weeks, because when you start switching things up, you're messing with what your progressive overload is. So you want to work on that, and that's what's going to really build before you see. Now, after, I could even say 8 weeks, but I'm just saying 4 to 6 because sometimes people get bored.
I mean, even 12 is not a bad thing. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And what I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't bring it up and I thought it was in my notes. It's like, mesocycles, you have these cycles that you're going to do the same exercises. You're going to stick with this plan for a long period of time. Yeah, it's not fashionable. Yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, it's not cool, because you see people on Instagram, like we said, avoid the random circuits. We're not doing random circuits anymore. We're doing a plan because you want to start at a certain weight and you want to progress. Each week, you're going to overload that muscle. And there's no way, if you're doing this machine one week and that machine the next week, those machines are going to pull weight totally differently. You're not going to be able to track that progress unless you are sticking there. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, at least for to me, it just takes 4 weeks to really get good and comfortable with the plan, because I'm learning, like you said, I'm learning my body. I'm learning foot placement. I'm learning, how to contract my muscles. And then I don't like having to think about things too hard. When something's new to me, I'm having to put a lot of thought and attention to it. And that takes a lot of energy and time. Once I get to that 4 week mark, and Jimmy said he's the same way, so I know I'm not the only one. After about that 4 week mark, it almost becomes like a habit. I know where to go next. I know what equipment I'm going to be using. I know what foot placement I'm going to have. And so then am I really able to get in the meat and potatoes of the real work?
Well, if you look at it like this, if you only did 4 weeks, depending on how you worked out your plan, because we've told you different ones, some you would be hitting that muscle group once a week, some will be twice a week. So if you did that, you make that plan and you were only hitting that muscle group once a week, you've only done that 4 times.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Even if you're doing it twice a week, that's only 8 times. That's
it's not a lot.
Really, no.
It flies by, really. I mean, even a 12-week cycle flies by. I mean, you think about 3 months. We were talking about time flying by earlier. It may, when I was training clients, I was told to mix it up every week because people get bored. And, it's like, well, are we in the business of really teaching people how to train and progressive overload and actually getting them results? Or are we in the business of entertaining people? Because that's what I felt like I was doing. I felt like I was entertaining people because, well, what are we doing this week? People came in excited to work out. And if you're somebody who needs that novelty to get your butt in the door and do it, then yeah, it's better than nothing. But if your goal is to really build muscle and lay down that tissue so that we, increase our metabolic rate, we put that stress on our bones, so that we don't have osteoporosis, we have that hormone, if your goal is to build muscle, then you need to really stick to a plan.
Yeah.
And then, do it, I'd say at least 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, and then switch it up. By then I'm kind of bored. By then I'm like, okay, well, these, and you don't have to switch up the whole plan. I may have 2 exercises that I don't feel like I like anymore. I'm not enjoying them. They're not fun. I might switch them out for 2 new ones and keep the rest of
Yeah.
the plan.
Yeah.
So you're not having to reinvent the wheel.
Right. Because, think about what we said. If you're doing progressive overload and you are like new and you're supposed to be adding the weight, and I'm talking myself out of what I said. I just said that because I wanted people to understand. But yeah, I would recant that to at least 6 to 12, because in 4 weeks' time, there's no way I've really added on too much weight, because the first 2 weeks, I can remember sitting on the couch and my thighs hurting so bad and being so sore. Carrie would grab me on each side of my thigh and I would just, like it was that hurt, feel good. So if you are new, that's the way it's probably going to be for you if you're doing it right.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks are just getting used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were times I was holding onto the wall to sit on the toilet, and I'm not meaning to scare y'all, but it was exciting, but if in the beginning you're not just a tad sore, you're not pushing yourself.
Right.
Your body should be in shock.
Yeah.
From
You
what
should be
you're
walking
doing.
funny. You should have trouble sitting on the toilet. I mean, there should be soreness, not pain. There's a difference between pain and workload, and you'll learn that in your body. Now I get excited if I get sore. I'm like, shit, I did something today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Today I could feel a little soreness where I did that workout Friday, and I was like, okay, I really did use that muscle. There are times now I don't get sore because my body's used to a lot of it.
And just because you don't get sore, it doesn't mean you didn't have a good workout. That is not an indicator of gains, or workload.
Right.
Just mentally as humans, I think, we connect soreness with achievement, so it is kind of exciting. So don't let it scare you. It's really a cool feeling, because, then it reminds you of how hard you worked, and you're like, yeah, I did that. It reminds me of that video on TikTok. I was singing this to myself the other day. I was like, bitch, you doing a good job. Bitch, you doing a good job. Have you seen that video on TikTok? I told Jimmy, I was like, I'm going to quit talking negative. I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to quit talking negatively about myself. And every time I'm going to be like, bitch, you doing a good job. So the other day I was in the kitchen. I forget what I was doing, but it was something I didn't want to do, but I made myself do it. And I was so proud of myself. And he walked in and I'm going, bitch, you doing a good job. He's like, what are you saying? Everybody go to TikTok, look up, bitch, you doing a good job. That's your new anthem.
Play it right before you start.
Yes. Hype yourself up.
All right, fellas. Well, that is, I guess, episode number 2. A lot of information.
We turned a 30-minute episode into an hour and a half. That is our specialty.
Whoops.
Yeah. Yep. So we have 2 more episodes coming to you guys in the future. We're going back to weekly now, so you can expect another episode next week in the series, Exercise Like a Girl. So until next time, just remember, progress isn't perfect,
but you are. So keep growing.
Bye, guys.
Bye.